If you can hear me. We are still a bit ahead of time, but let me use the time and briefly introduce myself to you. My name is Tina Freiburg. I'm the professor of comparative politics at the University of St. Gallen and the current program director of the Masters of International Affairs in St. Gallen. And together with Dr. Daniela Engelmann, who is also with us today, she's the executive director of the International Affairs programs at St. Gallen. I'm happy to introduce the Master of International Affairs to you. So welcome to our presentation. I do hope that you're good, that you're fine, that you're healthy, and that you're enjoying the presentations so far. So in the Masters of International Affairs, we deal with future issues such as the compatibility of the economy and ecology, the protection of democracy, but also the future of work. We are motivated by questions such as, why does a society accept some profound changes, such as digitization, with all its social and economic costs, while it is much more skeptical about others, notably energy and climate transition? We are committed to contributing to the achievement of the social development, the sustainable development goals. You are probably all very well familiar with these 17 goals, including peace, justice, and strong institutions, reduced inequalities, and climate actions. It is remarkable in itself that, all the members of the United Nations, which is a very diverse group of states, has agreed to really achieve these goals. We acknowledge that challenges such as climate action are interdisciplinary in nature. If you think about the complexity of climate politics, it's without any doubt that we need to integrate and combine knowledge that has been produced in many different disciplines, including political science, law, business administration, and economics. And these are precisely the 4 disciplines that we combine and integrate in the International Affairs program. To stick to climate action, which is the 13th goal, the Sustainable Development Goal, to basically make clearer why it is so important to address a challenge such as climate action from multiple disciplines. A question that is typically asked in political science, for instance, is about political parties and how political parties as dominant actors in any political system do take on public opinion, public sentiments, and turn this into policy decisions. Economists, in turn, are not necessarily interested in the link between politics on the one hand and citizens on the other, but they might be interested in determining and estimating the optimal carbon tax, right? That basically allows us to maximize welfare from economic consumption and still reaching the climate objectives. Lawyers, in turn, turn to arbitration processes, and they wonder, in what way can international investment arbitration contribute to achieving the climate change commitments? And finally, we shouldn't forget about the private sector, which plays a pivotal role in achieving goals such as the climate change mitigation goals. And here, business managers, or business scholars, they wonder, okay, how can we basically make for-profit firms invest voluntarily in corporate strategies to improve the environment? And here you do see 4 different disciplines that tackle the same challenge from 4 very different perspectives, And we really need to bring politicians, citizens, court judges, and also the private sector on board in order to come up with effective solutions. And if sustainability is something that you care deeply about, just a side remark from my side, as a student of the Master of International Affairs program, you do have the opportunity to also join the Management Climate Solutions program and receive an additional certificate that allows you to specialize in questions related to sustainability. Now, this example should have made clear that the answer to why international affairs and governance is very straightforward. Today's challenges, including climate action, they do not care about disciplinary borders. They require interdisciplinary thinking. They require, pardon? Okay, they require us to really integrate and combine knowledge, skill, and action for effective and sustainable solutions. Now, how do we seek to achieve this? We do have 3 dominant program objectives. So the idea, the principal idea really is to equip you in political science, economics, law, and business administration.
Sorry.
Yes, Alexander, do you have a question? No. Okay, so it seems as if he's struggling with theme. So let me continue. So the primary objective really is to turn students into flexible generalists with the skills and competences to integrate disciplinary knowledge and also to specialize in topics, in challenges that they feel close to and to which they really want to contribute. We are really making great efforts to provide you with plenty of opportunities to practice critical thinking, original thinking, and to also train your skills to come up with solutions to real-world problems. And ultimately, we also invest in your skills training when it comes to effectively communicating and collaborating. So we do have a rich menu of assessment strategies, including podcasts, essays, but policy briefs. So we go well beyond exams and essays in order to really foster your skills and competences. Now, how exactly do we seek to achieve this? Here you do find the overview of the MIA program architecture. You do find the same scheme on our website, mia.unisg.ch. So you can have a closer look at your own time. It is important to know that it's a 3-term program that in addition to the Master of International Affairs courses, you can take courses from other master programs that we run at the University of St. Gallen. These are the independent electives. And you can even go more interdisciplinary by also taking courses in history, psychology, sociology, China studies, whatever you feel like. Now back to the MIA program. It is basically built not only on the 4 disciplinary pillars, but also on a theoretical, a methodological, and a professional pillar. When it comes to the thematic one, we really go and teach interdisciplinary in that the compulsory thematic course is a course that brings together all 4 disciplines, international politics, international market economy, international law, and business strategy. And a group of 4 professors, 1 per discipline, they have co-designed this course around 5 challenges: trade and investment, finance, climate and environment, development, and power. And each of these challenges is then discussed from the respective discipline, so to provide you with a really good understanding of what each of these disciplines brings to the table when it comes to climate change mitigation, among other challenges. In addition, you will be asked to take 2 methodological courses, data analytics and causal inference, as well as strategies of social science inquiry. These are advanced methods classes, and we live in times where I don't need to tell you how important data analytics has become. So we really want you to acquire and foster your capacity to critically engage with data and empirical evidence based on systematic data analytics. Now, as to the professional pillar, here in the spring term, which then would be your second term, we combine the knowledge. So here we pick real-world cases, and we bring together practitioners as well as scholars that have been working on these very cases, and you're invited to discuss the cases with the practitioners and the academics in order to really bring together your empirical, your theoretical, and your methodological knowledge, and to challenge what has been done in the real world in order to tackle the problems at hand. In addition, we offer MIA mornings workshops, and I will come to this in a second, as well as consultancy projects, and I will also spend a few words on this in the next 2 or 3 minutes. But let me quickly emphasize that when it comes to the core electives, you can pick from a rich menu of courses. If you want, you can specialize, but you don't need to specialize. If you wanted to specialize, this is then clearly indicated on your certificate, and you have 5 possibilities: security and conflict, democracy and governance, business and public policy, sustainability and development, as well as data analytics and methods. And each term we guarantee that a considerable number of courses is available so that you can effectively specialize in any of these thematic themes. Now, I just mentioned the MIA morning workshop, so we are very skill-oriented. We really want you to be equipped with the necessary skills and competences that you need in the real world, that you will need on your job. And therefore, we dedicate 1 course to this skills training. The idea is that you take 5 90-minute workshops, and together they count 2 ECTS. You decide which of these workshops you take. You can take them in autumn and or in spring, and you can take more workshops if you want it. Again, right, we think in terms of thematic, methodological, and professional workshops. These are just a couple of examples. There are many more workshops that you can take. When it comes to the thematic workshop, the idea is that we provide you with the possibility to catch up if needed in disciplinary thinking. For instance, if you join us with a bachelor's in law, you might want to better understand how economists tick, and therefore take the workshops on economic principles and economic reasoning. Here, the idea is really to make students understand what is specific about the respective disciplines. When it comes to methodological workshops, we do acknowledge that you come with very different experiences when it comes to methods training. Therefore, we provide you with the opportunity to really also go back to the basics, to take classes in quantitative literacy, for instance, or to take a class as the stats refresher one. But some of you are already well trained, and you might want to go beyond courses. And here we do offer workshops such as web scraping, which allow you to learn how to basically download in a very efficient manner information that is made available online. And in terms of professional courses, here it's really about providing you with the skills that we know are needed on the job market. For instance, negotiation techniques, writing policy briefs, and many more. Students can always let us know if they wanted us to offer a workshop on a specific topic that we have not yet covered, and we will make sure to integrate it in the next term. Another particularity is really our focus on actionable teaching. Ultimately, at the end of your studies, you are asked to take a so-called consultancy project course. This course really wants you to integrate everything you have learned in your bachelor's and at the Masters of International Affairs. Two primary goals. The first is that you really go through the process from evaluating a problem to contributing to a solution. And second, that you will have the opportunity to train and practice how to put your scientific knowledge into action. To this end, we collaborate with a number of practitioners. Here you do see just some examples. These practitioners are invited to basically present a problem that they are working on at the moment the course takes place. And in student groups and small groups of students, you will then be asked to really tackle that program under the guidance of your lecturer. One example is, for instance, the course on UN Security Council reform. And here we collaborate with a former ambassador who is actually sitting on the UN Security Council, and you will have the opportunity to also interact with current members of the council. Another example is our collaboration with ÖBB, the Austrian train company. They are interested in better understanding how they can improve their offer in carbon neutral travel. One last thing before I turn over to Daniela. We do value student engagement, and students are invited to contribute to the program in many ways. One of which is our initiative that students can suggest who we shall invite as a guest professor at the University of St. Gallen. We can invite guest professors 2 per term, and one of these guest professors can be or shall be suggested multiple step procedure. Here are just 2 recent examples. This spring term, Ken Opalo from the Georgetown University will join us and offer a seminar on political economy of development in African states. This is a great chance for students to also enrich our course offer in line with their own interests and needs. And with that, I turn over to Daniela.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to present to you some of the exchange options that you have at the University of St. Gallen and in the MIA program. And so one way to create a profile for yourself is to take advantage of the really wonderful exchange options you have at HSG, because the University of St. Gallen has more than 200 partner agreements with universities throughout the world, through which you could go on an exchange term to a partner, be it in Europe, in Asia, in the US, or in Latin America. So you could study, for instance, a semester in Madrid or in St. Petersburg, in Shanghai, or Japan or Singapore, to name just a few. But I really want to go beyond that and focus a bit on the dual degree options that you have in the MIA program. Tina, if you could move one slide, thank you. So the MIA program currently has 4 dual degree options with top universities throughout the world. And these are with the Sciences Po in Paris, with the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts in Medford, which is near Boston in the US. Then we have a cooperation with Yonsei Graduate School of International Studies in Seoul in Korea. And more recently, also with Universidad de los Andes in Bogota in Colombia. So what does dual degree mean? Well, it means that you spend 2 academic years, 1 year at the HSG in the MIA program and 1 year at the partner university. And after only 2 years, and once you fulfill the requirements, you are awarded 2 master's degrees. Participation in such a dual degree is on a competitive basis, which means you need to apply once you are enrolled in the MIA program. Now, 2 dual degrees that I would like to highlight specifically are the ones with Sciences Po in Paris and with the Fletcher School, because here you can apply directly to the dual degree. You don't need to be enrolled in our program or in their program, but you can apply directly to the dual degree with 1 application for 2 masters. And this is always in January or in February, so it's just finished for this year, but again, for next year, it will be in January and February. But of course, all these 4 dual degree options are wonderful options because these schools all belong to the most renowned in international affairs. Then looking at admissions, the MIA program is a specialized program, which means that you need to apply, like the MATSIS you heard earlier on. So you are eligible to apply to the MIA if you have an undergraduate degree in international affairs, in economic or social sciences or legal studies or related program. We also require a GRE or GMAT. You would also need to submit a writing sample, which could be either your bachelor's thesis or another academic paper that you've written. We are also of course, interested in good grades, but it's not the only criterion. We also look at your previous professional experience and your extracurricular commitments. So next to your grades, we're also interested in students that show public spirit, that are willing to take up responsibility also outside of the classroom. And last but not least, you don't need to prove this formally, but you need to be proficient in English because the program is offered in English. And the MIA always starts in the autumn semester. And our application deadline, therefore, is always at the end of April. Now, looking at your career options in the MIA program, we really get very good feedback from our graduates regarding their career prospects. And if you look at this chart here, what maybe distinguishes us from other political science programs or from other international affairs programs too, is that more than half of our graduates go on to work in the private sector. So they would be working, for instance, in banking and insurances, in consulting and other private firms. And they're often at the interface of business, politics, and the law. So they might be working in challenging jobs, for instance, in public affairs or in governmental affairs, in corporate social responsibility, in political risk analysis. And about a third to 40% of our graduates work in the public sector. That would be public administration at city level, at cantonal level, federal level, also diplomacy. And I guess this really shows you that international affairs at HSG doesn't qualify you for a single job profile, but really opens up a whole broad range of possibilities. And it's really up to you to decide, what interests you and which niche you want to go to. Just a few examples of our alumni, just to make this more illustrative. Of course, you would expect that our graduates go into diplomacy. And here you have Pierre, for instance, who is working at the Swiss Embassy in Washington, which is, of course, one of the most interesting stations. Or then Milena is another good example. She works at the ICRC, where the International Committee of the Red Cross in Geneva, where she is responsible for fundraising. or an example from the private sector, Johanna, she is head of responsible investment at Zurich Insurance Company. And there she deals with many different stakeholders, international and national, to ensure that the sustainable investment goals of the Zurich Group are implemented and met. Another blessing that International Affairs has just received from maybe an unexpected side is Forbes, that Forbes magazine, which ranked graduate programs in international affairs as the 5th best degree for jobs. So if you're studying international affairs, you don't have to worry that you're not qualified for very good jobs, and that you're able to make an impact, to make a difference, but you're also, you have what it takes to be successful in your job as well. Right, so I don't know if we have, how much time we have. We want to, I don't know if we need to go into St. Gallen that much. If you're aware of St. Gallen, what St. Gallen has to offer, we certainly have a very nice video about what student life is like at the HSG, which you can watch during your free time. But we can leave it at that, and hopefully address some of your questions that have come up. Either in the chat or you would raise your hand. Yes, Layu, please.
I was wondering, you mentioned all the programs are in English. Does that also apply to Sciences Po in Paris? Would that also be in English?
It depends a bit on which masters you are interested in. So in our dual degree with Sciences Po, we cooperate with three different schools. So there's a School of International Affairs, there's the School of Public Affairs, and there's a School of Management and Innovation. So most of their programs are offered in English, and you are not required to know French, when you start. But some programs in Finance et Stratégie, for instance, this is in French. But most programs are in English, and you can decide which program you apply to within the dual degree. But of course, it helps to know some French if you live in Paris, but it's not a requirement for most of their masters.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know some French, but probably not on the level to study half of my master's in. So I would hope to benefit from learning French by also living there, but not doing my entire studies in French. Yes. And one more question, the MIA, that only starts in autumn, or can one also start in the spring?
No, it's only in the autumn.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Marina. Marina asks, how do you define good grades and how competitive is it to get admitted? The number of applications. Of course, I mean, the number of applications always varies, also for the dual degree and for the MIA program. Let's say for the dual degree with Sciences Po, grades are really a hard criterion, like it was mentioned earlier on for the Maths. So if you need to have about a 5 to be accepted, because it's very competitive. Of course, the MIA is also competitive, but we don't want to concentrate solely on the grades. We want to look at the whole dossier. We want to look at all of your profile. And if your grades are not, spectacular, then you have the possibility to compensate with the professional experience that you have. And you can, you also have to submit a GRE or GMAT, so that really can also compensate some of the weaker grades. So it's the whole package that we look at. Mayu, please.
But when talking about grades, so you're talking about a 5 average. So as long as one has a couple of 6s, it doesn't matter if you have a 4 or 2? So it's not like if you're too low in one subject, you can't get in. It's more about the average.
It's about the average, yes. We're not comparing each grade because, I mean, it's kind of difficult to compare all of your individual grades with your competitors.
Yeah.
And Mayu, you will be asked to also provide us with a letter, a motivation letter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can credibly show that this is really something that you want to study, this also counts.
Okay, thank you very much.
There was another question regarding GRE or GMAT. Which of the two do we recommend? Well, that's really up to you. Again, it's a standardized test that is really just one criteria which counts next to your grades and the other criteria. So whatever you are more comfortable with. The GMAT is more a test for management, for business schools. The GRE is more quantitative. It's really up to you which test you're more comfortable with. With the GRE, we're looking only at the quantitative score. I mean, you have to pass the whole test, but for our purposes, we're only looking at the quantitative score. Sure.
So thank you so much for your questions and for your interest. If you will have questions later, and Christian, maybe Danida, you will also quickly respond to this one.
Is the GRE GMAT required only for limiting the number of people? Also because okay, so of course you need some math also for the methods courses, but it's really the GRE GMAT is an admission requirement. It's one extra criterion which helps us when selecting students for the MIA program. So it's a more functional quality than anything else. But before Tina says goodbye to everyone, maybe I can just tell you that I will be available also for more questions in the breakout session. And Tina has just posted the website and the email address of our MIA program if you have more questions later on. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniela. Thanks to all of you. And yes, we look forward to seeing you again. Ciao. Take good care.